can only give them of what I have in my purse.
The Sufi writer taught that the only thing in Jesus's purse, the only thing he carried with him, was love. So that love was all Jesus could give to people, even to those who weren't being kind to him. What's in my purse? What's in my wallet? Okay, so what's your message that you take away from those two stories? What's the moral of the stories? What are the morals of the stories? Anybody? What's your takeaway? Carry love. Nice, Chuck.
Love is the answer.
Love is the answer.
All we need is love.
All we need is love.
You don't have to match the energy of the people that you encounter.
You don't have to match the energy of the people you encounter. Treat others as you wish to be treated.
We've all got problems.
We've all got problems.
People where they are.
Meet people where they are. I'm sorry, always? Always. Excellent. For me, the wisdom message from these two Sufi stories isn't that we should allow people to treat us badly. I just need to name that. But that often it will help us to find compassion for other people by wondering why they might be behaving the way they are, and by wanting them to get what they really need in order to feel safe and healthy and whole and happy, so that they might be able to behave kindly themselves. Another message I get is that we're actually helped by wishing others well, even those who behave unkindly. It helps us to stay more kind. And finally, that we can get ready for those opportunities by paying attention to what we're thinking about and planning for and what we practice. In other words, by paying attention to what we're putting in our purse, our set of tools that's available to us. So that when the time comes, love is at least one of the things we have to give, even if we have to sometimes dig around in our purse to find it. Are there any young folks here today to sing on their way to Kids Connection? Not today, so our folks are ready. But I invite us to sing to the children who have been and will be here, so that we do not forget that they're here with this little light of mine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Thanks, Randy, for being both a dervish and Jesus this morning.
My pleasure. It's not often you get asked.
I once wanted to be Jesus for Halloween at my Catholic school, and my parents nixed it. Said I couldn't do that. Still time, right. I had a cross ready and everything. But yeah. With faith was really important in my family, so actually it felt very natural, but they drew the line at actually being the person of Jesus for Halloween. So I invite us, as we do each week, to just stop for a moment, take a breath, receive a breath, as a rabbi friend of mine invites, to receive maybe a second breath, and to receive a third. I love that receiving language, right? Life is abundant, even in the midst of everything else. I kept my Christmas tree up, in part because I didn't have a chance to take it down, but I also think of, okay, at least till January 6th, it's okay. Epiphany. And I hadn't remembered that it was the anniversary of the insurrection at the Capitol until later. I started with Epiphany, but here again is one of those examples of so much that's all woven together, right? All at the same time in our lives. So I invite you to take stock of what's resonant for you, what's tugging at your heart, your spirit, your sense of ethics or morals, the people that you care about, that you're empathizing with, your own hurt, your own sorrow, your own gladness too, the gifts that you've received over the season. In the silence for a moment, notice what's most present for you. Always, I invite your own prayerfulness, your own thoughtfulness, your own way of centering, your own way of paying attention to mark this time that is a combination of silence and music and ritual. If you're in the room, I invite you, if you wish, to come take a stone, these stones that have come from you, from members and friends of the congregation, to let the heft, the weight, the texture, the color of that stone represent what you're carrying, and to place it in the bowl as a reminder and embodiment of the fact that you're not alone in any of this, no matter what you're carrying. If you're online, I invite you to type into the chat to share with each other some of what you carry. And even in this moment, as centered in ourselves as we might be, I invite us to hold at the same time the others who are here in the room, and the others that we don't see who are online. I invite you to use this time in a way that serves your spirit and your ability to be present in the world with love. I've placed stones for the joys and the sorrows, the concerns of the people at home who are here on Zoom, as well as stones for folks who did not come up today to place a stone to symbolize all the rest. I often find that the music starts to shape my thoughts and feelings at this point. Right? Toby, thanks for accompanying us with the range of feelings that we might be holding. It's a gift. I would lift up the joy of the facilities workshop yesterday, that just this really thorough exploration of what are the possibilities for this space, or what are the, going forward, what might happen. It's really so thoughtfully and beautifully done. So thank you, and a joy to everyone who was part of that. For our prayer and meditation today, I invite us to offer that together by singing together, which helps at so many levels. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit, even if you're at home, and to sing Comfort Me, to take in as much of it as you need for yourself, but also to sing to each other in support and care and love for each other. comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Be with me, be with me, be with me, oh my soul. Be with me, be with me, be with me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul. Grieve with me, grieve with me, grieve with me, oh my soul. Grieve with me, grieve with me, grieve with me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. I'm going to invite us to hum one more time a cappella. Randy's own piece with creativity from both Randy and Toby. So thank you for summing up some of the important realities of the past 7 years or so. I told Randy I was going to focus on the experience of anxiety this morning, and the music gave us an embodied experience of anxiety. Or maybe that was just me. Randy asked me yesterday if the music would be too much. I said, oh no, we can work with that. It meets some of us where we are, first of all, true. And it really is an oral expression of the swirling that goes on around us and within us, at least part of the time. I chose to examine anxiety this morning in part because so many of you have named in various ways feeling anxious in the past several years with plenty of reason. COVID, politics, isolation, health issues, fires, life changes, the second anniversary of the January 6th insurrection, for example. And also because we'll soon begin the second and longer portion of our sabbatical renewal time. I know from experience that when an identified leader is not present for a time, people often start to feel anxious, sometimes without recognizing why. In fact, it's not uncommon out of that anxiousness for people to get angry with the minister before an extended leave begins. So seasoned ministers teach us to be ready just in case that happens, and I'm fine, by the way. And they teach us to recognize that the energy behind someone's anger might actually be being fueled by something else, or at least heightened by their fears around our coming absence, or maybe even the fear that the minister won't come back. So in case it helps, let me just take this opportunity to remind you that the congregation and I have a written agreement that after a sabbatical, the minister has to stick around for at least another year. So yeah, if that can help you at all. Now, I expect all kinds of good things to happen here during sabbatical renewal time, which for those who don't know will be about 4.5 months. And in case it's helpful, I wanted to name that what often happens when an identified leader is absent is that things that would normally not be such a big deal, things that would typically be addressed calmly and relatively easily, become much bigger deals in ways that surprise people. Sometimes this is because the presence of the minister or the behavior of the minister has kept old underlying tensions at bay. And without the minister there, the magma that's been boiling underneath all the time erupts through the surface all over the place. But more commonly, the unrecognized anxiety causes people to latch onto relatively simple molehills and to heap them up to become mountains. The anxiety has to go somewhere, and so it gets attached, typically unconsciously, to various personal pet peeves or otherwise very simple issues. Sometimes little things that have long been nagging people suddenly feel huge and like they must be addressed immediately, must be fixed right now. Kind of like the sound of a faucet drip, for example, that you ignore most of the time, but that suddenly fills the room and makes you want to tear your hair out. Or is that just me? Part of what I want to do then this morning is help you be ready for such possibilities should they arise. And just to have this flag, something happens, you go, I wonder if. But let me go back to anxiety in general for a moment. Several times I've spoken of tools for calming our anxious selves for survival, right? Breathing consciously and slowly, for example. Taking a double breath in, lengthening our out breath. Singing, being with people who care for us. Tools that can soothe our systems that are on high alert. And sometimes that's what we need first before we can do anything else, to calm our amygdalas, to get us to a calm enough place to actually really see what's going on. Today, however, I want to name another kind of approach to our anxiousness, drawing once again on the insight of Buddhist teacher and nun Pema Chodron. I know that a number of you, because you told me, have dog-eared copies of Pema Chodron's collection of teachings gathered now 26 years ago in a book titled When Things Fall Apart, Heart Advice for Difficult Times. I keep cycling through its chapters, but a good 75 to 80% of the time, or maybe it's 95% of the time, most days anyway, I find myself returning to chapter 3 to start my day, titled, This very moment is the perfect teacher. Here's how it begins. Generally speaking, we regard discomfort in any form as bad news. But for practitioners or spiritual warriors, people who have a certain hunger to know what is true, feelings like disappointment, embarrassment, irritation, resentment, anger, jealousy, and fear, instead of being bad news, are actually very clear moments that teach us where it is that we're holding back. They teach us to perk up and lean in when we feel we'd rather collapse and back away. They're like messengers that show us with terrifying clarity exactly where we're stuck. This very moment is the perfect teacher. And lucky for us, it's with us wherever we are. Maybe our amygdala, that almond-shaped and most ancient part of our brain that is our first-line processor of incoming frightening and threatening stimuli, maybe it is on such high alert and so stressed out that we won't be able to do anything until we calm it down, till we breathe. That could very well be. And another possibility, at least part of the time, is that our anxiousness is after us to pay attention, to learn something, to address something, in which case, always trying to soothe ourselves, always trying to soften the discomfort, or pad it, or distract ourselves from it, or ease the pain, as Pema notes, perhaps always trying to soothe ourselves, is keeping us from learning, from the opportunity to grow in some way we're needing to grow. Pema writes, each day we're given many opportunities to open up or shut down. To open up or shut down. The most precious opportunity, she says, presents itself when we come to the place where we think we can't handle whatever is happening. It's too much. Things like disappointment and anxiety are messengers, holy messengers, telling us that we're about to go into unknown territory. Pema Chodron teaches that reaching our limit and the fear and the trembling that come with it are not ailments or problems, but actually signs of health. An appropriate response when we meet the place where some piece of who we think we are or who we think we need to be is about to die. The point then is to notice those opportunities, those daily opportunities to open up or shut down, and to consider the possibility that they might be an invitation. In Pema's words, an invitation to lean toward the discomfort of life and see it clearly rather than to protect ourselves from it. In other words, it's an invitation to stay with the discomfort long enough to hear what it has to say, if we can. It means not grabbing onto it and investing in it either, but listening for what it might reveal to us. It means becoming curious, means wondering why we're feeling what we're feeling and what need or story or expectation might be underneath it. There's a metaphor that I think is helpful to couple with this notion of leaning into and listening to discomfort, because the goal is not to be uncomfortable or to identify with the discomfort without attaching ourselves to it. The goal is to be with it without attaching ourselves to it. As Pema has put it, it's a reminder that you are the sky. Everything else, it's just the weather. You are the sky. Everything else, which is taking up our visual and all our senses, everything else is just the weather. So much of what we latch onto, our thoughts, our feelings, our angst, our past, our circumstances, our worries, we mistake them for who we are, especially when they are blocking our view of everything beyond them, or burying us like snowstorms, or whipping around us at seemingly hurricane strength. But we are not those things, actually. And various Buddhist teachers remind us of that. At root, we are the sky beyond all of that weather, which will always eventually change, always eventually pass. When I'm feeling anxious, I'm finding it helpful to remember that I'm not the blustery weather that's swirling inside me, as seductive as that is. One of the things that solo camping in the redwood forests and along ocean waves for 3 weeks did for me this fall was allow me to be with my internal weather long enough to listen to it without trying to get away from it, and to recognize for a time, moments at a time, being the sky beyond the weather. It's the goal of many kinds of meditation, and at heart, the goal of all mystical traditions like Sufism, from which our wisdom stories came today. To remember and to experience ourselves as sky, a place from which we can call out blessings to those trapped by their weather, a place from which we're more likely to be able to give out love to those who aren't knowing themselves as loved. That's the place of sky. In the next several months during our sabbatical renewal time, when life events and world events are swirling, and when some oddly specific point of focus in the congregation might start to gather more emotional energy than seems warranted, like around who's supposed to empty the dishwasher, or the arrangement of the chairs, or the color of the back door, or slightly more significant issues, I invite you to perk up, to get curious rather than furious, and gently to lean in rather than back away. I invite you not to grab onto it either, not to ramp it up, but to be with it, to listen beneath it and beyond it for what really it might be saying, and to realize that the anxious energy coming from someone around an issue might be different than the issue actually being expressed. It might have to do with another kind of anxiety. I invite you to notice what is weather, yours and someone else's, and what is sky. Now, I have one other pragmatic request related to anxiousness when the minister is away. Another preparation that I hope will be helpful to you and that you'll take on together. One self-soothing behavior when we're anxious, and we pointed out that there are plenty of reasons to be anxious, and there will be more. One of our self-soothing behaviors is to loop other people into our anxiety for a couple reasons, both to release some of the energy, or sometimes to ramp it up more, and also so that we're not alone, so that we're not feeling alone in it. One of the very human ways this happens is to grumble about someone or something without talking to the person being talked about. To grumble about someone to other folks without actually talking to the person you're talking about, or the person who has responsibility for that thing. So if you find yourself grumbling about someone to someone else, or find yourself voicing frustration about what someone else is doing or not doing or has done, and you haven't actually talked to that person yet, I invite you to notice as soon as you can. This is a process, right? One of my teachers would say, you notice something as soon as you can, and sometimes that's 6 months later. But you make a note of it. And then the next time, it's 5 months later. And the next time it's 4 months. The goal being to work it all the way back to when it's happening. So start where you are. And then if you can, find a way to talk to or communicate with that person directly yourself, with both clarity and kindness. Now, I know it's not easy, and it may help you to call on a wise or trusted friend who can help you gather your courage and help you clarify your thoughts, who can help affirm the healthy step that you're taking, and celebrate it with you when you take it. You don't have to do it alone. And if someone comes grumbling to you about someone else, I would ask you to encourage them. I want to say insist, but let's start with encourage. I invite you to encourage them to share their concern with the person directly. Affirm and support that they can do it for their sake and for everyone else's. And if the person is not feeling able to do that, suggest that it may be helpful to call on one of their wise and trusted friends who can help them gather their courage and clarify their thoughts, who can affirm the healthy step they're taking. Maybe that's you and maybe not. And if they're not willing to communicate with the person and come back to you again to grumble, ask them to stop. It's okay, ask them to stop. You can love them and ask them to stop. And encourage them again to communicate directly, knowing that doing that will be healthy for both them and the congregation. And in fact, it's the promise we've made to each other in our covenant for those who are members, that we'll communicate with each other directly, clearly, kindly. Now, I'm naming this as a sabbatical time invitation, but of course, it's important all the time. And I'm not saying it because I'm the expert on doing it. I have to work at it too. None of us knows what the next 4.5 months will bring. The Polish sociologist Zygmunt Bauman says that we're in a time of liquid culture, meaning that we're in a world that is changing so quickly that there is never time for a reasoned response. Things are changing too quickly. By the time we figure out a response to any change, he points out, the conditions that necessitated that response will already have shifted. Discomfort and some amount of anxiety are surely going to come with these times. And for some people in the congregation, be heightened by the absence of the minister, who is often a calming influence, who in fact was called by the congregation 7 years ago to be a calming influence. Happily, this congregation will have a wonderful and insightful part-time sabbatical minister in Reverend Janet Oni, who will be introduced and will take part in the service next Sunday. Thankfully, this congregation has many wise and heart-centered leaders and members. You've got this. It'll take a little commitment to stay with it, but you've got this, is my thought. So yes, breathe. Breathe consciously and slowly, and take double breaths. And lengthen the out breath. Yes, sing, and certainly be with people who care about you. And when you can, lean toward the discomfort that arises and see it as clearly as you can. Listen for what it might have to say. It's a good thing that each moment is the perfect teacher, because that we've always got. The good news from Pema Chodron is that awakeness is found in our pleasure and in our pain, in our confusion and in our wisdom. Available, she writes, in each moment of our weird, unfathomable, ordinary, everyday lives. Once in a while, we can even remember and realize that we are sky, and all the rest is the weather. So may we know it to be. So may we know it to be.
$25% of our offering this month will support Sierra Roots, which serves chronically homeless individuals in Nevada City and Grass Valley. And here to tell us more this morning is Sierra Roots board member Nick Wilczek.
Randy, thank you for that introduction. And the music today, I was not expecting someone to go full Coltrane, and it was amazing. Thank you so much for that. It was beautiful. So again, my name is Nick Wilczek. I am a board member with Sierra Roots. Sierra Roots seeks to fill the basic needs of homeless individuals. So that's food, clothing, shelter, and also love and relationship and building relationship with homeless individuals in our community. We provide hot, free lunch every Thursday afternoon at the First Baptist Church in Nevada City. We also are responsible for operating overnight shelters when the weather is too cold for folks to be outside. We do that in conjunction with the County of Nevada. Sometimes the shelter is the Madeline Helling Library. Sometimes, most times, the shelter is the Vets Hall located in Nevada City. We're low barrier to service, so as long as folks are acting right, we don't ask questions. You are welcome. Your dog can come with you, which is also a very, very important part of what we do. And so again, a lot of it is based on food, clothing, shelter. But again, the part of it that I think kind of gets forgotten and goes unspoken about sometimes is the love aspect of it. Hot meals are provided at every overnight shelter. It's a really beautiful experience. In terms of finding center, I had a lovely experience a few weeks ago where I was able to join the folks staying at the shelter for dinner. It was a very beautiful experience. It was very fun. A lot of folks in there that are characters, and characters make the world go round. It's kind of who my heart identifies most with. And so, again, it was very centering. You could find the love in the room. And this anecdote I like to share about it. And I think it speaks to the care that Sierra Roots shows to the people we're serving, is that there was avocado in the salad. And like, avocados are pricey, y'all. Like, you know, you don't do that unless you really care about somebody. And I just thought it was so incredibly touching that there were avocados in the salad. So again, I thank you so much for the time and the warm welcome that everyone has provided me today. I encourage you all to catch up with me afterwards to talk about Sierra Roots. And then another plug is that I'm also the county library director. And so if anyone wants to talk about the library, I'm more than happy to do that also. So thank you all. Happy New Year. And I appreciate all of you. Thank you. Thank you.
Your generosity remains essential to our ability to sustain the work of our community. There are several ways to contribute. You may text an amount to 833-579-0483, give via our website at uugrassvalley.org, via PayPal at paypal.me/UUCM, or mail to UUCM 246 South Church Street, Grass Valley, California, 95945. Thank you.
And also, I wanted to let you know, if you're in the room and would like to have your whole contribution go to Sierra Roots, please put your donation in a white envelope. Thank you. Thank you for your gifts. We dedicate them to the work of this community and to the work of Sierra Roots in our community. Okay, let's do some thank yous here. I want to thank let's get that up there so I can, and actually, well, I'm not going to thank myself, but I'd like to thank Allison River Sampson for reading, and also Chuck Champlin for doing our chalice lighting. Want to thank Toby Thomas Rose, who did an amazing job with the music today. He's basically sight read a new piece I showed him yesterday. And I want to thank our audiovisual team, Paul Elias and Gary Lauer, and Siobhan Boylan for getting that all organized, and of course Bob Miller. And want to thank George Dunstan for his work behind the scenes, Eileen Hale for being our chat host with the most, and Shanti Emerson for the lovely setting today and for lighting those candles with me today. And want to thank Lori Bell and Jean Gilligan for being our greeters and helping with the offering. Shannon Dooley Miller and Lori Bell are getting the refreshments ready for all of you to join us after the service. And Lindsay Dunkel and Susan Merrill, thank you for being at the ready for the Kids Connection. Oh, you're welcome. And just some quick announcements for you. The book group is meeting today at 12:30, both here at the church, and you can join them on Zoom. Our next open mic night is coming up next Saturday, January 14th at 7 p.m. There will be a soup supper just starting at 6. UUCM has partnered with Earth Justice Ministries and Creating Community Beyond Bias to offer a special event for Martin Luther King Jr. Day on January 16th. To attend in person requires a ticket, which you can sign up for free, or you can join in by Zoom. Tickets and the Zoom link are available on the website. And you can learn more about Sunday services and upcoming events at our website, uugrassvalley.org.
Yes, thank you to Randy for being worship associate and a dervish and Jesus and a fabulous musician, all on the same morning. Thank you. Gail Schultz yesterday talked about doing a huge couple $1 million campaign with the congregation in 2008, really, as the market crashed. And the word she used was commitment. They actually succeeded in accomplishing what they wanted to accomplish, but it was because people really committed to it, she said. In this time of liquid culture, when so much is changing so fast, commitment, I think, is what we can bring. Even when we can't know the answers, and even when things are changing so fast, there's no time for a reasoned response. That's what we've got, right? We aim in that direction with the commitment that we have. I invite us to close our service by rising in body or in spirit and to sing a song to that sense of commitment, here attached to the imagery of fire. So I invite you to join the fire of commitment. If you've got the teal hymn books, the soft cover hymn books, it's number 1028 if you'd like to see music. From the light of days remembered burns a beacon bright and clear, guiding hands and hearts and spirits into faith set free from fear. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion need to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the stories of our living rings a song both brave and free, calling pilgrims still to witness to a life of liberty. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion need to call us on From the dreams of youthful vision comes a new prophetic voice, which demands a deeper justice built by our courageous choice. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. For our closing words, we return to our opening words, our chalice lighting. Pulled in many directions by the demands of our days, let us remember the still point deep inside. Made unsteady by the winds of unpredictable paths, let us remember the shelter of each other. Longing for lights that lead us back to our truest selves, let us remember the ways that this chalice illuminates the faces of friends and sacred companions. Recalling once again that we find our way through the willingness to take each other's hand. So we'll extinguish our chalice, but each week we remind ourselves that we are not alone and that together we carry the flame of peace and love until we meet again. If you're here in the building, please join us for refreshments down the hall, and everyone, will see you next Sunday for finding more of our center and talking about it through this season of renewal that's coming up. We'll see you then.